This is episode 3 of Acorns, a Shady Oak School PTA podcast.
On today's episode of Acorns, a Shady Oak School PTA podcast, we're talking with Joyce Trigger, director and founder of Shady Oak Christian School, and we reflect on the 30-plus years of education she has given to Fort Bend County. Well, Joyce, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. Today's guest is Joyce Trigger, founder, director, educator of Fort Bend children for the last 30-plus years, molding our childhood with such wonderful memories and life skills. And today we're here to talk about reflecting on those 30-plus years where, I am now a parent of 2 small children, and I reflect on my childhood. Where am I the same? Is parenting always the same everywhere? How has it changed? So just thank you so much for being here, and I'm just so looking forward to hearing your wisdom.
Well, let's think about the reason this school exists, and that's for the kids. And so let's think about the children and how have they changed. 30 years ago, when I was working with Mother's Day Out at my church in Houston and then working at another area, preschool and Mother's Day Out, I thought then, wow, that was the 70s and 80s. Really? Children aren't very different than they were back when I was a kid. Okay, so that was 30 years or 40 years prior to when I was reflecting on that in the 70s and 80s. And here we are in the 21st century reflecting on what do kids need now and how is it that we might be responding to those needs with the same things that we were doing 30 years ago. It really is a big thought because we want, certainly in your generation of parenting and in this time frame, we can get behind in 1 week in technology. I mean, there's a phone that you don't have now, and there's another one coming out at Christmas.
Absolutely.
And so how can we possibly keep up? And wow, I would say that Shady Oak is doing so much of the same things we were doing 30 years ago, not because we're lazy, not because we haven't kept up with the times, but because we understand deeply what children need.
So you're saying 30 years ago, Owen and Sophie are the same kids that ran on the streets. I mean, and that looks different now versus when you ran on the streets, when you were a kid and everything. Our needs are always going to be the same.
And they're deep and they're instilled in children. And, as Psalms 119 says, we are wonderfully made and we are not any differently made than we were generation ago. And that is with some basic needs. And so when we recognize those needs, and one of the things I think Shady Oak is clear on is we do believe we know what children need, and that does not change. Now, the big factor is how to help parents in such a changing culture slow down, take a look at their kids as individuals, and recognize and then live accordingly.
Wow. I feel like this is another one of those intervention podcasts.
Yeah.
Because that totally is my life. As a parent, I'm involved, but because I'm involved, I'm busy. And I'm juggling 1,000 things, and there's got to be a quick fix for the reason Sophie has a meltdown. Where's the quick fix? Is there an app for that? Is there, maybe I could just call grandmother and she can fix it and tell me what to say.
Well, one of the things that we realize is that, and we say this, and some children are more, this is very descriptive of some children more than others, and that is your children are an absolute barometer of your family life. And that can mean they will show it. And often it's at school and probably at home too when they are maxed out with schedules and activity and seemingly wonderfully planned activities, but their beings cannot tolerate all of that at the same time. Maybe it's very good and timely that this is close to holidays, because one of the things I've said through the years to parents at parent meetings and sitting in just with one family in an appointment is, what's your best Saturday? You know, how describe what happens on your best Saturday. And most people say, we get to stay in our pajamas a little bit longer. We take a slower time to get going. We have some kind of family breakfast that we all are maybe helping to prepare. We maybe have one birthday party to go to, and the schedule is not packed. And when I ask about how often that is, they usually say rare. And so at the end of a Saturday, or if you have 2 days like that, your child is reeling from activities, all of which were probably really good. And that's the part that shocks parents is, wow, they were all good. We didn't want to choose. And based on these children, which are the same, even though there's museum activities and fantastic places for birthday parties and stimulating activities to go to, and with the holidays coming up, so many amazing choices. They are choices. And I think part of the culture of today is to not miss out on anything. And I think that that's the part that is so hard on our kids. So one of the things we do at Shady Oak is we really have a life here that is so kid-centered. For example, we don't have parties. We won't have a Christmas party. We didn't have a Halloween party. We call them special snacks, because when you just say the word party, children turn their whole moods change, their activity level upon entering. Everything about it changes, and truly every day could be a party here. And we've actually had birthday parties here where we just do playground time that we always do, because it's so appropriate and right for kids that they aren't more wound up, they're filled. So that's one of the things. And I talk to teachers at other schools who long for having that at their school, because every time there's a party or there's an emphasis on a party coming, it's really not good teaching time. It's just monitoring excitement, which turns wild. And we are excited here. Oh my gosh, we love it. But we have a different take on what it is that children need. And it's not entertainment.
Wow. Yeah. Well, and I know you guys have started a new special birthday tradition in lieu of a party. Maybe, because y'all don't even do a special snack for birthdays. You do have a very special song you sing. And you now have the new special thing, at least it's new to me, that you do for birthdays.
Decorating letters. Okay, so let me tell you that it's a shock for some families, and I talk about this meaningfully, but very knowingly at our orientation meeting, that when you find out what we do for your children at birthdays, you may think they're just not going to feel like they're special enough, because we sing our birthday song, which we have used the same song for 30 years. And on the day that you were born, the angels sang and they blew on their horns and they danced and they danced. And they smiled and raised up their hands on the day that you were born. And we put their name in that. And everybody sings their name. That's pretty wonderful. And then they have a picture taken on their day at chapel, and then they decorate a letter, their special letter, their name, and it goes home. Last year was the first we did that. So Owen has his letter at home.
He does.
Decorated, and the way he decorates it, his this year might be different. Actually, kindergarten has a different ritual. But the part that you have to believe is and trust, and I would say this part is so the same over the years, and that is, we really do trust children to let us know what they need and let us show us how their needs might be different from somebody else. And I think so many other programs and parents at home get really conflicted about, oh, but that probably isn't enough, but they probably want more than that. And I will tell you, they're really pretty satisfied. It's what our opinions inflicted on them make them say it's their more. I want to give you a little example. It's personal, but it's very relevant to Shady Oak. Yesterday, Ella, our granddaughter, was visiting, and she had this thought that she wanted to have a party, and she thought it would be her wedding yesterday. And I said, well, we need to have invitations and invite people. And she said, well, let's do it right now. And I said, people don't usually do it like that for a wedding, but we could have a pumpkin party. And so we made a few quick invitations, and she walked one over to the neighbor and said, it's in 10 minutes on our front porch. And I said, well, what do you think we ought to do at a pumpkin party? And I said, I have some pumpkin cookies we could have. I had bought some Trader Joe Pumpkin Joes, and so I thought we could serve those. And then you could say the words to 5 little pumpkins. And so the neighbor very nicely came over and sat on our front porch. My husband was there, and Kate, the other granddaughter, and Ella and I. And Ella said the words to 5 little pumpkins, and we served cookies, and then we asked each person there what was their favorite pumpkin food. And Ella was ecstatic. She was it was over. It was over in less than 10 minutes.
Sounds like a perfect party.
So calm. Picture most children at a party. They don't know what to do with themselves. They're bouncing up and down. It often does involve presents. But I remember my girls wanting to do that, and we did that when they were girls too. It's such a kid thing, not hyped up, simple. She called the shots. There weren't hours to prepare to get yourself all in a reel. And I was thinking, am I crazy? But I think it's knowing what kids are and what they need and how that need can be fulfilled. And I think we do that really well at this school with everybody on board, that we love seeing these earthworms, or we love seeing that loose tooth that you have, or we love seeing the caterpillars that somebody brought in. And we really do. It's not like contrived to make that child feel special. The problem with feeling special is, and I read this many years ago, is if I'm special, by definition, you can't be. Because that's the whole point of special. So some of us who've been around here a long time catch ourselves when we say special, and you don't hear that very much going around here, because it's just, there are other ways to say, let me get to know you. What do you love, and what could I love along with you? So kid-centered, taking the time, slowing down enough to get to know your own kids and the kids here, that is a need that stayed the same through the years. One time there was a mom who was here a long time and for a couple of kids, and when she left, her oldest one got old enough to leave, she was really sad, and she said, I'm just going to miss this school so much. And I said, tell me why. I would really love to help to understand what it is, because it's true. Families miss here when they leave. And she thought a long time, and she answered the question really well, I think. She said, I think you really help us know what's important while we're here in parenting. And when we leave, we don't have that source. I think that's really valuable.
That is really valuable.
If you have a source that can say, oh, that's really important, pay attention, and that's not, let that go. Some people have their parents or their mothers or their grandmothers or somebody to help be that sieve, that filter. And I would say in this day, where there's so many sources to say we're the most important, get out, do this, give us your money, give us your time, that boy, more than ever, I think it's easy to get confused. The children are the same. but the world around is spinning for the attention of parents, the attention of, oh, but yeah, we're offering this. And like I said a few minutes ago, all those choices are probably good, but deciding which one.
Absolutely. And what I think rings true with so many people that choose Shady Oak is there is a simplicity to the day. There's a wholeheartedness to interacting with the children that I think reads for a lot of people. And when it is time for us to leave, our children have grown older and you can't stay in kindergarten anymore and you have to move on. And whether that means continuing on at the primary school or at a public school, there is that moment where you kind of catch your breath and you wonder, is this where my child says goodbye to his childhood?
Well, and boy, any good program is really, really, really going to want to prepare children. And this is my famous words. I've said this for 30 years when we ask parents what they're looking for, and if they look for a pre-K program that's going to prepare their child for kindergarten, isn't that what you would say? We say, well, we don't say that. We say we're going to give them the best year of their lives. And if they have the best year of their lives, they'll be ready. And the people who know this is a right choice for them just relax when they hear that, because they realize that's what they want. If you're living your life to the fullest in your 20s, you'll be ready to be 30. And if we don't say, well, practice all during your 30s because, wow, 40 is coming. Well, you'll be ready if you live your life to the fullest. And that, I totally believe that is what we're thinking about with these kids is that, wow, how can we give you? Now, what does that mean? To pack the day full of whatever that would fill them up to be ready for kindergarten or whatever. Well, part of it is that we use language here that it matters. We're some people have called me the child whisperer.
Well, you are.
Whatever.
Pied Piper.
And I think about it a lot. I would say for my entire life, I babysat a lot when I was a teenager and helped with children's choirs when I was in high school. I think I have been gifted with understanding how children think. I really do believe that I know before they say it. If a teacher or a parent asks an inappropriate question, I know how the kid's going to answer because I think like that, and it's helped me to then ask more appropriate questions. For example, if we say to children at cleanup time, how about if you start picking up now? It's going to be time for our group time in 10 minutes, okay? 9 out of 10 will start cleaning up, and that 1 out of 10 will say, no, it's not okay. I really like what I'm doing here, and how about if I don't? And so
I know that child.
That says to me, we don't say how about. We say, in 10 minutes, it will be time for group time. And you take that okay off the end because you're not checking in with them. And parents, and I've had some people say, wow, why do they do what you say? And I really think it's the belief and the practice of that very thing, of making sure that you're sending the message you want. Through the years, we've had some teachers who've really helped us with saying some things like, and my family members that aren't around Shady Oak actually chuckle at this for the first time they hear it because it sounds a little odd to say out of the context of here, what should your body be doing when a child is running near the near the patio tables, or where should your hands be? It is so powerful because it's the kind of question that a child would have an answer to that's appropriate. Where should your hands be? My hands should be by my side. And if you say, keep your hands to yourself, that's a phrase that 8 out of 10 of our children figure out what that means. But again, those other 2 out of 10 are all over somebody because they're thinking my hands are to myself, but they're also on this person. So phrases like, where should your hands be? what should you be doing? And many years ago, there was an Oprah book, and I think the title was Raising a Thinking Child, or How to Raise a Thinking Child. She had the author on her show, and I was very interested, bought the book. And really, it's the way we talk to kids. When you say, what should you be doing? That's instead of saying, take your hands off that. Where should your hands be? Instead of saying, take your hands off the table or take your hands off your friend. You're asking them to think, because you're not always going to be there to tell them what to do. But if you instill the questions, they can say, yikes, where should my hands be?
Wow. I remember you saying that to my youngest brother who came to Shady Oak, and I never understood there was an actual philosophy behind it, but absolutely.
Absolutely. You want to be giving them the voice that they will ask themselves. And this is the thing. We want to work ourselves out of a job. You want to work yourself out of a job of raising Sophie.
Yeah, I'd like to retire one day.
Sophie and Owen, you can forget that. As your mother would tell you, you can forget ever being out of a job as a mom. But the way you work yourself out of a job along the way is to teach them to be reflective and ask themselves, whoa, what should I say when somebody hands me something? Ooh, what should I say? You're setting up a situation to help them learn to do something the next time. I would say another thing that we work with language that's pretty powerful, and I remember writing this in my first letter in my first packet 30 years ago when we started the school. And this comes from my mom. If we ever said, I can't do that, I can't draw a dog, I can't dry the dishes, I can't pick up the things in my room, my mom would say, her words were, can't, never did anything. And my mom taught us so much about trying. And so in that first letter, and still in our packet is, we don't want to hear the words, I can't, we want to hear, I'll try. Wow. One of the things I think that makes the school so relevant now as earlier, is that there is so much value to self-confidence. And when you recognize that, what are the things in our world that really build confidence in children, real confidence? And oh my goodness, you can get a trophy for reading books in the summer program. You can get stickers on your hands, stamps on your hands. There's so many things you can get. You probably know more about what's out there now than I do.
Yeah, you can get a medal for just about anything right now.
But here's like the best self-confidence builder there is, and that is to have a well-mannered child, because that child is welcome anywhere they go. And people will say, wow, you can come back to my store anytime you want. You are so polite. You can come over to my house anytime you want. You are so polite. You are so patient while your mom and I talk. Thank you for waiting. I hope you'll come anytime you want. That's the real deal. That's the real deal. And so what does it take to have a mannerly child? That's not a parrot. That's not a child who just mimics please, thank you, you're welcome.
Yes, ma'am, no, sir.
Yeah. It's not a parrot. It's a child who genuinely gets gratitude. I did this for you. What do you say to me for doing that? And that's how we talk to the children here. At lunch, if somebody say, Miss Trigger, will you open my sandwich bag or my sandwich? And I say to them afterwards, what do you say to me for that? Not because I expect a mimicked answer, but because I want them to learn. And boy, when they do that on their own, that's its own reward.
Absolutely.
And as a parent, you must know that when your children say, thank you, Mom, for this good dinner. Oh, my goodness.
How many more years do I wait until I get that?
It's so, and in a household, you want dad and mom to work together.
Absolutely.
Mom, what do you say to your mom for this great meal? What do you say to your dad for helping you make your bed or whatever it is? So powerful. So probably when I was an undergrad, I did research on how to help children have good, strong self-confidence. concepts. Self-concept, it was called. Healthy self-concept. That's a long time ago, and we're really confused about that in our culture for what builds a child up. And it is what I would just say is that Shady Oak has a really good handle on is that the real things that build a child's self-concept. Here's an example of that, and it is a sense of independence. And so I know some parents probably hear me say and may get a little ragged at me when the child walks in and mom may have a baby and 2 bags, school bags, and a lunchbox and a hand, and our Shady Oak kid comes in with nothing in their hands. And I usually stop them at the door and say, wow, you need to take one of those things from your mom because that's your job. But wow, when that child recognizes that that's my job and I am doing it, they hold their shoulders high, and they don't get a reward for it here, but life is better. We all worked, we all were cooperative, and now this is what happens for that. And that's one of those pieces that's age old. Another piece of language I think that I've learned from teachers in the last 15 years has been this phrase, it's your job to. So if a child needs to wait, will you tie my shoe? Will you do this for me? Can I be next painting, whatever? And the teacher says, it's your job to wait.
Wow.
That really is a job. And children respond amazingly to that.
Can you say that again, please?
So
it's your job
to wait. And you know what? They are very attentive to children want jobs. Your children want jobs.
Absolutely.
So important and in our school, in every class, and I think they do this at the primary school too, everybody has a job. Even there's a door holder. Somebody, the one who switches on the lights. The thing that has been amazing to me is a child is really happy to be the caboose, the one at the end of the line. Jobs, and these are real jobs in the class, and children rise to them very well. So when it's your job to wait, that gives me something to do, and I know. And then, of course, a good teacher, a good parent is going to say, wow, you really did your job yet. Well, I'm ready. How can I help you? And they might do their job standing beside you, waiting for their turn, or they might go about their whatever else they're doing, but they're doing their job. And that's powerful language. So I would encourage parents to think of ways to use it's your job to get those Legos picked up before I come back. Instead of pick up your Legos, it's time to pick them up. There's something about that. And another piece of that is I've loved the word expectations through the years. I expect you to do that by the time I come back. Kids love that. I can remember saying that at parenting meetings 25 or 30 years ago. I expect you to do that. I think that's something that children rise to, our expectations, and clearly saying them. I think that's a great way for parents, language for parents to use at home.
Absolutely. Gosh, there's so many things I want to just have you just sit down and say and talk about for hours and hours, and I know that you can because you are a wealth of knowledge. Let me
just use another book title that I'd love to do another study this year on, and we probably studied it for the first time 10 or 12 years ago. The author is Wendy Mogul, and it's called The Blessings of a Skinned Knee. And I think we need this more than we did when she wrote it, and that is how parents can see that having their children have difficulty is really a benefit. And there's a lot of Old Testament Jewish wisdom in there. Oh, it's just an amazing, amazing book. And one of the things I think that helps me reflect is to say, what books have we studied through the years here?
Well, Joyce, and I don't know how many of our listeners know that for the last, how many years, 20 at least, you have done a book study. Mm-hmm. That we sit down with a Brene Brown book or
Ellen Galinsky, Mind in the Making.
Yes, A Mind in the Making. I can picture the book. Mm-hmm. I know exactly where it is in my house. And you go through that with us, chapter by chapter, thought by thought, and help us grasp the whole philosophy behind a book. And you've done that for 20, 30 years, haven't you?
Right, and I can mark time with those titles. And before that, we did something called Dinner with the Director that was held in coordination with First Baptist and Family Ministry. And every Wednesday, we had an hour together where you could help somebody potty train their child or decide whether the mealtime is worth the hassle over eating every green bean, or how to even have a conversation at a mealtime and why should we, and just the day-to-day in the trenches stuff. The books, we were able to make many of those applicable on a day-to-day basis, although most of them are really big ideas. But, oh my goodness, we've done a book at least twice called Kids Need Boundaries. That's true. That's true for the last 30 years, 50, forever, probably. And so anytime I can help a parent have a light bulb come on to help not just solve today's problems, which might be fine to do, but be able to gain some wisdom to help them along the way. So as I reflect on those books, I can see, wow, the kids' needs have not changed. We were talking before about how we don't have computers or a computer lab for children. We do love the internet for resources. Oh my gosh, you'll see teachers on their iPads or phones looking up the life cycle of a earthworm or the life cycle of a butterfly, or what's another word for, and we want children to recognize the value of technology and finding that. But we know that our kids are on those devices all the rest of the time, so this is like a little island of that, away from that on purpose. Because we want to say, what is it that children need that they might not be getting other places? And it's certainly not more device time. So we love that they're getting the social skills through the years. Again, social emotional skills has been, I think, what we have done so well. And a beautiful thing is that research is really supporting what we've been doing for 30 years. There's a type of research that's non-invasive. It's pretty new, like probably the last 7 to 10 years of PET scanning, which is really as invasive as putting on a baseball cap. The device is inside the baseball cap, and the tester can sit close by with a cell phone in his or her hand and read what is happening in the brain waves. And that's part of how we find out what commercials end up in the Super Bowl, which are the ones that make brains light up, which are the ones that are kick in to responses.
I feel like I would ace this test.
Yeah, so that is a way that we can find out what does impact children's thinking, what impacts their brain development, what impacts those synapses, those connections in the brain cells. And it is not cute ideas that the teacher comes up with to do in the classroom. As a matter of fact, we actually try not to say cute here because children deserve much more than cute. They deserve meaningful, wise, and we kind of challenge ourselves, what are we going to say, instead of saying, wow, that's a cute idea. Look at this cute idea I saw on Pinterest. Well, we try to figure out why would we want to use it, because it's particularly relevant, it's great, it's awesome, but not, children just deserve more than cute. And maybe you think that's picking, splitting hairs, but here's the thing, cute things do not change children's brains. So I feel like we've been knowing that for many, many years. What are the things that change children's brains or that help children? What do we give children that they need? There's a group called P21, and that is the Partnership for 21st Century Learning. It was started in 2011, and this group of education innovators and business innovators put their heads together, and I would encourage our listeners to look it up. It's very interesting. P21, who are the participants, who decided these things, and what they looked at 4 C's. These are the 4 things that are needed, that business people say, wow, this is who we need to run our businesses. This is who we need to solve problems in today's world, and we're sure not getting them from the schools in the U.S. The U.S. is dropping in rankings every year for putting out good thinkers. So here are the 4 C's: creativity, communication, collaboration, and critical thinking or problem solving. If you looked at our documents from early on, you would see that those are things we've been working on from the beginning.
Absolutely. I look at the way y'all teach a concept. This last month, it was pumpkins. Pumpkins fits into creativity, communication, collaboration, critical thinking. I found out last week a pumpkin floats. My kindergarten told me that, and I questioned his answer, and I've still not tested out. But he had a reason behind it. He was creative in making a nature-decorated pumpkin. I mean, it was all of those things that, as a preschool, you delve much more into pumpkins than here's a worksheet.
Right. Or even here's one fun day. October is so full of wonderful things. And we know, and research also supports this. This is called project-based learning or project approach. That it doesn't really matter what you're studying, but it matters that you teach children how to go about learning about it. So a program that has one day a week that's going to be about pumpkins, and another day about scarecrows, and another day about fall leaves, and another day about spiders, and another day about owls, and another day and another day about harvest. And of course you could do all that because October is just amazing. And in Texas, we love that change that comes up. But again, research is showing us that the best way to develop thinkers and good brain cell development is to take some topic and go deep. So we're never going to spend less than 4 weeks on something, and parents probably recognize that. And there are other programs, some of them really nearby us, that send out a calendar that in a month might have 8 things that they dabble with, and we just take a different approach. One of the things for 30 years that we've celebrated here is wonder. Just the word wonder, and answering a child with, well, I wonder. If somebody says, well, how many days before those eggs hatch? The answer is, I wonder. Because I could be the answer for them, and certainly we could Google it and come up with it really quickly. And that is,
hey Siri.
And that exactly. And that's one of our problems with learners and people we're putting out in the workforce now. They don't know how to wonder. Again, a simple piece of Shady Oak has been just to create and establish and prolong the sense of wonder. And if children just walk around, they could just walk around with their mouths open at Shady Oak with just all the things to wonder about. And I want our staff to always contribute to that and not find answers too quickly. And I think we're all on the same page in that.
That's fantastic. I'm going to recap really quickly because there are some really big themes I felt like that have been huge that I think we as modern day parents with, hey Siri, hey Alexa, there's an app for that. It's that simpleness, that simple Saturday morning of whether it's Eggos or you really make waffles, and you get to stay in your jammies and have those moments. It's kind of like that perfect Christmas morning where there's no rush to pack up. We have to run really fast to grandmother's house, or we have to drive across town to so-and-so's for another party. It's sit down, enjoy the excitement of just the day itself. And I think that's what y'all celebrate on a daily basis here.
I hope so. And I would really encourage parents. This is big, and it means having confidence, parents who have confidence inside themselves to say, we're going to make a choice and we're not going to go to all 3 birthday parties this Saturday. We're just going to pick one. And you have to deal with the downside and what's it going to look like to the other parents. And we really like those other parents. And it will matter for the sake of your family that you take a deep breath and say, we're making a choice here. and your children will learn, because in that idea, in the book, The Kids Need Boundaries, what the author says that children need most of all is parents with boundaries. So kids need parents with boundaries for them to learn that. So yes, I think that is something that is taking pace a little bit, taking a little more time. And one of the things, probably 15 years ago, I started recognizing the value of breath, probably from Brandy, my massage therapist daughter at that time in Austin. Teaching children, I remember teaching them in chapel that we could take 3 deep breaths. And I remember saying, when you're sitting in your car seat and you are fed up with all these errands you're going on and you just don't think you could deal with another one, take 3 deep breaths. And a mom told me that her daughter, Madeline, said that to her. Miss Trigger said I could take 3 deep breaths. We need it more than ever, don't we now?
Absolutely.
In this age. So if children walk away with those nuggets, when you leave Shady Oak, you don't have to worry about those, because if we've done our work well, those have gone in to be part of who they are and what they need to do to be the kind of people that will be a contributor to this world. One more thing that I want to mention is, wow, we've sort of come around full circle to recycling. Again, 15 or 20 years ago, that was really big for us. It was newish, kind of, for cities to make a big deal of recycling, and we really helped a few families flip light switches on in their kids to say, man, we're not going to throw those things away anymore. And one family, wonderful Shady Oak family from the past, has a son in high school, and she said when he was in 2nd grade, he wanted for Christmas a recycling center for their garage. And forever they will say that just spoke to his heart and soul about God's creation and the world and what he could do. And you can, one of the downsides of doing something for 30 years is you think it's already been done. Oh my gosh, we've talked about this so much. Who doesn't know about this? And then I'm reminded, this is another generation here. And so we are loving just kind of igniting that again with one of our afternoon nature specialists, Miss De Pavia. She is a lover of that also, and recognizing that children have a sense of this world, and we want it to be there for them and their children, and clean air. And that has been a part of the school from the beginning, and I love that it's a message we keep sending.
Absolutely. Well, Joyce, thank you again for carving the time out of your schedule to sit with me to talk about all of this. I would love to have you back for another podcast, because I feel like you have so much more to give and so much more information. And can we have a book from you? I mean,
you can have a stack of my favorite books. Yes, let's do it again sometime.
Thank you again so much. Again, this was Joyce
welcome.
Trigger and Emily Shearer with Acorns at Shady Oak School PTA podcast.